well, good evening, everybody, and this is the regular meeting of the Housing Committee for August 6th, 2025. I am Kathy Hunter, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. And tonight we are joined by Housing Committee members Warner Marshall, Elaine Feldman, Jim Graham, Chris Dickerson, and Lou Schaefer. So with that, our first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of June 4th, June 26th, and July 9th. And did everybody get a chance to look at those minutes?
Yes. Make a motion to approve June 4th.
I second. Oh, Mary's not coming tonight.
Right. Can we do all of them, or was there?
I wasn't here June 26th.
Oh, okay. So
That's why I figured we could do them separately.
Gotcha. Okay. So we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we? That probably brings right. Would someone? Anybody want to volunteer to take minutes?
I'm doing that. I'll do it.
Thank you,
Chris,
Chris.
did you volunteer?
I volunteered.
Thank you
I'll do it.
very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Okay.
My dreaded task is taking notes.
There should be 3 sets of minutes.
Got it, yep.
Okay.
5 seconds.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 26th, and that was our special meeting we had with David Fink. So whoever was there, do I have a second?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? And a motion to approve the minutes for July 9th. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Second?
I second.
Okay. Elaine seconds again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. I don't see anybody for public comment, so we will go to the Housing Chair report. And I don't have a whole lot to report on the Housing Chair, because what I did was just really try to itemize the different topics within the agenda. I will say that the House Bill 5002, it seems like that is being worked on at this point behind closed doors, but I anticipate a special session in September to take that up, but I don't have any more information on that, unless somebody does have been following that a little more closely than I have. No, okay. And I didn't put this in the agenda items, but we do have, in talking to the Conservation Committee, we had talked about having a joint meeting for the September meeting, September 3rd. And so I'm not sure what the timing of that is, because our meeting starts at 7, their meeting starts at 6. But we have a meeting on the same night, so we're going to coordinate that. And that will parlay into our discussion on the, conservation housing event. And so we could talk about how, when we get to that agenda item, we could talk about, what we, what kind of messaging we should get to the Conservation Committee. Public hearing on the plan of conservation and development. The Board of Selectmen, they are having their own public hearing on August 13th. For those that are interested, the official, that's not required, but the public hearing that is required is from the town's Planning and Zoning Commission, and that public hearing is on September 25th. So I encourage everybody to, read the draft POCD. It's on the website. I didn't send that out because it's too big of a file, but you can link right in there and look at it. And if you have any, if you have comments you want to address as a housing committee as a whole, we, you know, we could do that before, you know, maybe for our September meeting, we could talk about that.
When is that meeting? I know you said the date, but I didn't write it down.
Well, there's going to be two public hearings. One, the Board of Selectmen decided to have a public hearing, so they're running their own public hearing next week, as I understand. But the one that's required is the TPZ public hearing, which is scheduled for September 25th. And I think they're going to, I think it's at 6:30.
Kathy, the TPZ is September 25th or August 25th?
September 25th.
25th. Okay,
25th.
I wrote down 25th.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to discuss our comments on the POCD in our September meeting? Or do we want to discuss?
Well, if
it
you want,
tonight?
if you looked at it and have folks look, I'd be more than happy to, you know, we could discuss at both meetings. It's an important document, so if you've done a review,
I went through the housing section,
okay.
and actually I went through several sections, but not all of it. I was appreciative of the fact that they changed the population numbers and the educational estimates to be more in line with what the superintendent's report showed. But in the housing section, we still have a lot of American Community Survey data, which is not, I don't think, accurate enough to use. We chose not to use any American Community Survey data in our affordable housing plan. I don't think this plan should have it either. So I think you could maybe make that pitch to TPZ that we didn't use American Community Survey data because it's not accurate enough, and they shouldn't either.
Yeah, I did discuss with SLR, the American Survey data, and they did acknowledge, just like Goldman and York, and just like Scrog, they acknowledged that although it's not, you know, perfect data, it does provide, you know, projections and estimates, and it is really the only data you could use for this type of reporting. So I am not going to recommend to SLR that they can't use American Survey data.
Okay, so
If you want, if you,
it'll be less
if you,
accurate.
if
I mean,
you'd like to-
people are going to talk about it. I
Chris,
know
it'll be
that.
less accurate than what? Than nothing. Okay,
Right.
maybe
Well, I
what
don't
it needs
know.
is, maybe what it needs is a caveat that says, look, there's a very significant.
At a minimum,
you know,
I would agree that it
that-
needs a
that might
caveat
make
to
some
talk
sense,
about
but-
that. But I'm just going to make a note.
You know, that it has a high, you know, it has a pretty significant margin of error and issues with it. But that's it. I mean, it's just what we have.
Okay. That's
yeah,
all
I
got.
mean, I
That's all
think,
got on it.
I think it's, you know, I feel that that doesn't need to come from the housing committee, though we could vote on it if people feel strongly
Well, I mean,
about it.
I
But
I'm
think,
talking about the housing section, okay, which is us.
right.
Okay, so that's why I bring up the housing section.
I appreciate it, but I do, you know, I do encourage you, if you feel strongly about it as you yourself as a member, then you certainly could bring it up. I feel as representing, you know, in terms of the housing committee, you know, that is the data. That's the data that's used by all the planners. If you look at the information that was produced by Goldman and York, if you
Yeah.
look at information that's produced by Tyke
Right.
Planning, if you look at information that's produced by SLR, if you look at the data that's produced by
Just because they all
Cooper's
use
Robertson.
it doesn't mean we should just say it's okay. But it's okay,
No,
look,
but I think
you don't
Jim
want
has
to
a-
change it, let's move on to the next, next item,
I like
okay?
Jim's idea.
But everything, was there anything else with the housing?
I didn't have a chance to look at it, Kathy.
We will have a chance to talk about it again in September. But, you know, and certainly, I mean, there's other areas, of course, you know, Chris, you know, you talk about, you know, the economic development and business, you know, that you probably would want to comment on, you know, from your, as in your other roles. But in terms of the housing,
What
I-
what is expected of us as a housing committee as far as this report is concerned?
as part of the POCD,
Yep.
we.
What is our duty? Do we have to approve it? Do we have, what is expected
No,
of us?
no, this plan, the POCD is approved by the Planning and Zoning Committee. So but they do want to hear input. Now, there was a little advantage because, you know, I worked with the housing committee and I'm on planning and zoning, so I did the best I could do to you know, make sure our comments and recommendations were part of the POCD. They didn't take it, you know, all the comments and recommendations. They took most of it, but it was kind of generalized in a lot of areas. But, you know, I think the most important piece was that it did say that as part of the POCD to implement the strategies that were in the housing plan, the affordable housing plan. So to me, that was like the most important piece, to acknowledge the affordable housing plan and the fact that we need to implement those strategies that are in there. So I just felt that was an important piece. So, you know, I think, again, the POCD is really just a guiding light. It's not it's not like set in stone. So I think for our purposes, you know, works okay. But certainly, you know, everybody just read it and make sure it, you know, it does, you know, work for this committee. Okay. Public hearing, so there's going to be a public hearing on the Housing Commission ordinance, and that's scheduled for September 10th. They did have the wrong version of the ordinance on the selectmen meeting, but on the selectmen's website, but they might have had the right one on the public notices. I didn't check that one, and I should have checked that one. But I handed out what I believe is the most latest Housing Commission ordinance. And, you know, it really got scaled down. I don't know if you looked at this.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's pretty brief. And, you know, I think before I start talking about what I would like to see in terms of some changes to it, I just wanted to open it up to.
It's not up to us to make recommendations, though, is it? On the language of that ordinance.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be a public hearing. We could
Okay.
suggest,
So we can suggest.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whether or not they want to hear it. You know, I did try to attend a couple meetings. One meeting I wasn't allowed to speak, but the other meeting I did speak, but, you know, there wasn't any, it kind of wasn't factored into what the final ordinance looks like. But I just want to, you know, discuss some of my areas of concern, and we could say that this works. I mean, it's very general, and I'm not saying that this wouldn't work as is. You know, my concerns is really having 6 members, because it's hard to get a quorum. I think we had 7 members, and just having that one more person, or even having alternates, you know, so we can make sure that we have a quorum, because,
We need 4.
what's that?
If it's 60, you need 4.
Yeah. But if it's 7, you need 4 as well. So that would make it a little easier. Or if not that, then maybe have like 2 alternates, you know, like other commissions have, just so we could make sure that we have enough people to meet.
Is it the ordinance committee or commission? Is it a?
It's commission,
It's
so
a
this is this would be official.
But we'll have no authority really to do anything but make recommendations.
No, it's right. It's I don't see this giving it any more or less authority than what we already have, which is just to make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. But we are, you know, we do become officials, so I guess that's a plus.
However, it does require an annual report you got to produce, so that's some things you're supposed to keep up on, so
Right.
it's somebody to watch over a specific aspect.
But don't you
Housing.
have to give an annual report
I
now
have
to
been given an
BOS?
annual report.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been given more than annual reports. technically I should be given an annual report in September, but I thought this was going to be passed beforehand, so I wasn't planning on an annual report. But maybe, that's another, I don't have that on the agenda, but maybe I could roll it into the commission discussion that perhaps we should be doing an annual report for September. And the only reason why I wasn't thinking about it, because I thought this would be approved before that, and I would get out of doing that, but,
So we should anticipate the process being a public hearing in September, and then they'll take feedback. The ordinance committee will go back, hopefully make whatever changes they want to make, and then it will come back to the Board of Selectmen, and then they'll vote on it, and then they'll populate this new commission. So that
Yeah, well,
would probably would be after November, I would think.
I would anticipate, I mean, there was some discussion that to have this in terms of appointments after the election,
It
'cause-
seems like that's how it's going to be.
right, because you don't know, depending on who gets in, you don't know who the minority
Yep.
party's going to be. So, I think
That's true.
it would make sense to
Mhm.
do it after the elections or
I think in
less.
terms of a time frame, it's going to end up that way no matter what.
Yeah, I think
'Cause they're gonna have
you're
to
right.
do it, Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're right, if we have 7, we could have 3 people absent and still have a quorum.
Right. So
It's a
that
big
was
difference.
my recommendation. I think the concern was like, one party would have more power over the other, but I don't think that's the way this committee never operated that way. I mean, when we first had our committee, we didn't even know who was Republican,
correct.
Independent, Democrat. It was, we were bound by a mission, and I hate to think it's a political body of something.
It's more finding people who are interested in being on boards and commissions. With the 2030 committee that I'm now the chair of, because Susan Jacobs is no longer co-chair, we had a 7-member committee, and we couldn't get 5 people. So, because people just didn't show up to meetings, so we wouldn't have a quorum, or 4 people, so they cut it to 5. So now we need 3 people, but 3 people is hardly representative of a committee. So I didn't ask for them to cut it to 3 people, that's what the Board of Selectmen did, they cut it from 7 to 5, so now our quorum is 3. I mean, at least we can have a quorum.
Yeah, but it's
It's
really not
difficult.
enough
The challenge
people.
is they don't have enough people to fill boards and commissions. So I think that's why they're making them smaller. It's not ideal. I wish we had more people interested in doing it, but
And we have 7 here, right? Well, we have 7 on this
Well,
committee.
and that's the other
Except for
reason.
one
We have
person
7
well,
people.
we have an opening still, right? Did they change it to 7? Because I was thinking about that today, because Donovan's
No,
not.
we
So
never,
we're still
we
8.
we never had a number, really. We
were
never,
8.
well, there wasn't really an official number.
Well, there's got to be an official number because you have to have a quorum.
Yeah, I think, but
So
that
it's
kind of
8.
went,
It
we
was 8,
kind
and you
of,
need 5. But Donovan's he cannot be.
No,
on it.
so, but I guess
So really,
it's-
we have 7, but it's an 8-person board.
I mean, that's the
board.
question,
And
you
they
know.
should just have reduced it to 7. And then we would need 4 for a quorum instead
Yeah.
of 5 if it's 8. And
But I
that's-
never knew if it was based on the number of people that are on the committee or the number of people that are supposed to be on the committee,
It's the number of seats.
number of seats, okay.
Number of seats.
I
So if you
wasn't-
don't fill a, and this is where the problem is, if you don't fill a seat, we had an empty seat on 2030 for a long time, and they kept saying, I need another person, and they just didn't fill it, and then finally they did, after they reduced the size.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult, because there's a set number of seats on each board and commission, and that's your quorum number.
And what is
So
it? It's
when they
50
made that change,
It's 50% plus 1? Is that the way it works?
it's just more than 50%, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I think,
So our quorum would be, if we went up to 8, that wouldn't be good because our quorum
Maybe
would then be
5.
5. But
Right.
Yeah.
between 6 and 7, we're better off with 7
I
and
think
6.
so. And
Correct.
if not 7, then if there's going to be 6, then let's have a couple alternates. The other recommendation I had spoke about to the ordinance committee, looking at the Guilford Affordable Housing Commission, one of their powers, and when they talk about powers and duties, like they talk about that they want you to be like in consultation with other towns town bodies and staff. And they really want you to work with other committees and commissions. And I think that's an important aspect to factor in there.
Other towns?
Well, I was looking at
Okay.
Guilford.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I write down, is other towns and other commissions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so they really want them to, you know, work with other bodies, and that doesn't reflect this. The other aspect of Guilford that I thought was important is that they have the town planner as an ex officio non-voting member of the commission. So they need to have a town planner. They also mandate that you have a member of planning and zoning designated by the commission to be on the commission. You know, they wanted to have an ordinance to say that you couldn't be on it because it was a conflict. But, you know, the best practices is that you have to have somebody from planning and zoning on housing because of the interrelationship. So I think those are two different, you know.
That's a tricky one, because we can't have a full discussion about an application that's before town plan and zoning, because you're on town plan and zoning. So if we wanted to have a conversation about Fountain Street, that would put you in a tough spot, because
Yeah,
you're on
that would be
TPZ. So you would have to recuse yourself from one or the other.
Well, you can
That's the
recuse
challenge.
yourself from the discussion, you
Yeah.
don't, you know, so, and that, certainly if you wanted to
Yeah.
have a discussion on.
But then you don't get to
Fountain Street.
participate in the discussion, so it's,
Yeah, I don't
it's a
think that's,
challenge.
you know, that
And
doesn't
in fact, I
happen.
think, Lou, do you remember at one of the SCROG meetings that we attended, at least one housing committee was under the auspices of planning and zoning in
Yeah.
that town. It was just an integral.
Right, it was
Yeah.
part of planning and
Yeah.
zoning, right. So, you know,
A lot of different ways to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, but in Guilford, they made it, they did have the planning and zoning, but they did make it into a, again, the town planner and the member of the planning and zoning, they serve as ex officio non-voting member.
so the TPZ person is also ex officio?
Yes, and non-voting.
Okay.
So sorry if that wasn't clear. So that maybe would take care of the recusal, you know, so the person wouldn't be voting. So that, I think, you know, that might be a compromise if they don't want somebody from planning and zoning on housing ordinance, is that a representative of planning and zoning is part of the housing commission, but it's, you know, it's a non-voting ex officio member. And I think that would work fine.
I don't think, by the way, that having alternate members would work on a committee like ours. It may work on TPZ, because even if something continues on for a couple of meetings, it's
Yeah.
usually a new topic after a couple of meetings. We're talking about the same thing now as we were talking about a year ago.
Well, alternates
And
that
you
show
can't
up.
really keep up.
No,
Yeah, but then
alternates.
alternates have to show up every meeting.
Right,
That's
but I
gonna
do.
be-
I never missed one meeting in 4 years.
But you would, I mean, it's okay on that, because it's a lot of things that
Yeah,
are
When I was on
one-offs.
ZBA, I always showed up when I was an alternate. Other alternates never showed up.
no,
In
no,
fact, I was on it for a year, and the two other alternates never came a single time.
yeah, yeah.
So
No, I
it's
have
just,
that.
it's the person. It's the
I have
person.
the situation now, and
Yeah.
I, you know, the
Yeah.
commission got blasted because they said I was seated too many times, you know, our friends that were, I was seated too many times. I'm like,
Yeah,
I was
'cause you
seated
showed up.
because I was the only one that showed up.
Yeah.
You know? So, it's, well, anyway, I shouldn't go there.
So did you say a town planner should be part of this committee? Yeah. Have we hired a new one yet, or no?
Well, they were in the, I know.
They're interviewing?
Mika was interviewing some planners from the SCROG list, so I'm not sure. I did try to follow up with him today as to how he made out, but I didn't hear back. But yeah, I think it's really important
Yeah?
to have a planner on board. It's like really important. So, and that's what we've been saying for so many times
for
in our
a long time.
recommendation. Because we really can't, like, I mean,
We can't plan. I mean, we can't, like,
you really need a professional planner to really move what the agenda forward, because we're not, it's not my wheelhouse to do, zoning text amendments or things of that sort. Okay, so those were my recommendations. And just your thoughts, do you agree with that? I mean, I'd like to present this to the Board of Selectmen. But I just want to get the sense of the committee.
You want to present this at the Board of Selectmen
Yes, in terms of some of the thoughts I had about.
at the 9/10 meeting, right? At the meeting.
Yes.
Okay, which is the public hearing. So what we'll do, we'll have a meeting beforehand.
Yes, so we
So
want
the
to
week
discuss it.
beforehand, we're going to have a meeting. I'll type this all up, and then we can discuss it, finalize it, and then present it to the Board of Selectmen. Right?
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, well, let's, want to roll through this, because we
Yep.
are going to
Yep.
get out of here by 8:30. I promise, Lou. All right, the country club, oh, it's called something else,
the,
master plan, final submission. I don't know if there's going to be a public hearing on this. I think they just created, like, their framework. Cooper Robertson put together, the will of what the Board of Selectmen wanted, and they have a framework. I'm not sure if folks looked at that framework.
I did. Not easy to look at this whole thing. You're talking about the plan number 7,
This.
Meeting number
right?
7, this guy.
that,
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
community collaboration, yeah. The master plan, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you do have to like look at that, but you really have to look at it in concert with the meetings that they have, because even though there's some concerns I have on this framework, there did seem to be some leeway in what the final outcome would be. So but I do think I feel the Housing Committee should make a comment, be it written or spoken, or both, to say that we have to make sure that on this piece of property, that we do include affordable housing. This represents one of the only parcels, very limited parcels in town where you can have higher density housing. And it kind of behooves us not to include affordable housing within the final plan, because when you look at the final plan, it talks about assisted living, senior,
Senior cottages.
and workforce housing. No mention of affordable housing.
Townhomes.
Yeah,
Talked about townhomes, potential apartment buildings.
duplexes, yeah.
I was amazed. There was no mention of any affordable housing.
No.
Right.
Okay.
No, I read it over 3 times because I thought I missed it. And I was surprised about the assisted living in light of the fact that we currently have 3 assisted living facilities in Woodbridge.
I agree 100%.
You know,
I never heard, I don't recall ever hearing anybody say we should put an assisted living facility there.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where that came from.
What's the census of the
it-
are they all full? Coachman, the
I
others?
don't know. That's a good question, though.
Yeah, I mean, as I did the numbers, there's like 151 units in the preferred plan in total, and 180 units, and not a single one was
No.
designated as affordable.
And
So
are they market rate? Are they, they're not, I mean, they're market rate, but are they age restricted or are they non-age restricted?
They're
I mean,
all-
the conclusion was there'll be no educational financial impact, but it's very confusing because they have non-age restricted or age restricted, but if you have non-age restricted townhomes at $700,000 per townhome, you're very likely going to have children there. We've determined that. So I don't know where that came from. It was very confusing to me.
I saw age restrict, I mean, when I looked at it, and again, I probably need to look at it again, it looked like it was everything was age restricted, except for the workforce housing. I don't know if that
Workforce
was
housing, yeah, but
age restricted.
Townhomes are senior or market rate. Market rate wouldn't be restricted because you get senior or market rate. So market rate would be market rate. Senior cottages. So you have senior cottages is one item. Then you have residential development townhomes, and in parentheses, senior, which I would assume would be the age restricted, or market rate, which would not be age restricted. So
Yeah.
I don't know why they would put that in there.
Yes, so I'd like to make a public comment. I didn't have a chance to draft it for tonight. And I know they're meeting next week, but if I could just draft something that's kind of basic, just to say that, you know, given the legal landscape that we're in, given the need that we have in the town for affordable housing, given the fact that we're considering having housing, I guess we should be happy that they're at least considering housing. That seems to be always the, you know, but there's 155 acres,
Well,
and they're putting 25 acres for development, and within that mix, they're talking about pickleball courts and boutique hotels, and so it's really, I think they really minimized, you know, the opportunity to create housing, and I think given where Woodbridge is, we really need to push the fact that there needs to be more housing on the country club. And I'm not saying, you know, to just, you know, I know they have their open space, but certainly where, you know, Woodfield, where it's already been disturbed, we should be able to have higher density housing.
When you compare the plan of conservation and development, or at least the draft plan, I mean, it talks about, you know, the mismatch between the number of moderate and low housing and not enough workforce housing, and so it's talking about, and mentions affordable housing in it. And then you look at this, and it
no mention.
is,
There's no workforce housing in this.
not at all.
There's no workforce.
No.
They estimate the senior cottages will be 500,000, and the townhomes would be 700,000.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the financial estimates that were in here. So that's not workforce housing.
No.
Okay, that doesn't help this town at all. What they proposed here, in my opinion, does not help us one bit. Okay, we'd be better off leaving it as it is, because this is going to cost us more money. But
I don't,
That's
I don't know, I'm not sure about the cost. I think that may be true, but it's certainly not meeting the needs. And
No.
frankly, if
No.
we need to have workforce housing and we need to do something about affordable housing,
Yeah.
this is a particular area that has, you know, that has the most promise to do it in a sensible way, and then you're going to take it
Yeah.
off the board? I don't get it.
if we're going to build housing at the Country Club of Woodbridge, it needs to be workforce and or affordable. We do not need to build this sort of housing, in my opinion. If we decide to do it, it's up to the town, it's up to the people.
Well,
I
I mean,
agree.
I
agree.
mean, to leave consideration of that type of housing workforce and apparently leave it out of, you know, considerations, it seems not a winning strategy.
Well,
Did
they-
everybody see the article 2 days ago, Register, front page story on Fountain Street?
Somebody told me about it. I
Yeah.
haven't read it yet.
Probably forward it. I have an account online too, but it was a good article, and it talked about, they gave the 1.18, they said that may or may not be current, but they, you know, and they talked about the fact that they're not quoting a lot of people, but people that they are quoting say, yes, we do need affordable housing here in town, but this project doesn't do anything, implying that it should be done elsewhere. It was Let me see if I could send this.
No, I saw it.
Lou, you mean the Fountain Street development?
Yes,
Is
but
that
it
what
talks
you're-
about affordable housing in
Yeah.
that article, and it was the front page of the Register,
Yeah.
which I realize I'm one of 6 subscribers they have. but-
I get it too. I get it too.
Well,
You get a real
It comes
paper?
out a day later.
it's an exclusive club.
I know,
Wow.
it's the two of us. Well, I got it as a birthday present years ago, and they keep sending it.
Wow.
I like
wow.
the crossword puzzle.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
So I'm going to say for the minutes, the discussion on this was about, there was lots of discussion about about the left out workforce and affordable housing.
You take notes like me all
I'm
over.
trying to take notes, and then I'll type them up.
When is the master plan submit, when is that going to be discussed?
That's a
I believe
good
that's going to be
question.
discussed next week, but it didn't seem like there was going to be like a vote or approval. It was just the Cooper Robertson was going to submit the final plan, and that was it. But
Is there an opportunity for public comment at that meeting?
you can always make public comment. It's not like they're not doing a public hearing. You can always make public comment.
Yeah, would it be unacceptable for somebody to just mention, like, how come you don't have
Oh,
this stuff in there?
absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. I was, thinking about making public comment, or at least writing up something, but I'll write up something and run it by, you guys to just make sure it's okay.
Do you know what day this is going to be, this meeting? Or I guess,
I think they might be submitting it next week.
And
It
I'm
do-
so,
it-
It's
It
just,
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
because it's not, this document is not something that we're being forced to use at a certain date.
Right.
So we can make a public comment in a month, in 2
Yeah.
months, I mean, at any point in time.
no, Chris, my thinking was that the sooner that whoever's doing this plan knows that, you kind of left something out.
Yeah. Yes.
Which you might want to take up earlier rather than later, because
Yes.
that was what I was thinking.
right, because they're going to be doing, I guess, a letter of request for interest or something like that, to get some ideas, to generate some ideas from what developers could do. And I do think they should really, because they kind of left it open a little bit. I mean, it doesn't completely preclude doing affordable housing, but it just seems like they're pushing it in the direction of these two different
If you're a
areas.
developer and you come to Woodbridge and you look at this, you're gonna say, well, there's no affordable housing in there. I'm an affordable housing developer, well, I'll pass on that, I'll go somewhere else, because there's nothing in there. If you're a developer of an assisted living facility, you say, oh, well, they want an assisted living facility. I mean, it's the first I've ever heard of that. I was really shocked
yeah,
to
me
read that.
too. And
Yeah.
Cooper, where did Cooper Robertson get that? They're talking about 95 units of assisted living. And I don't remember it, all those public things that we did with sticky notes as to what we wanted. I don't remember assisted living being one of those things. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I don't remember everything that all on the
And think
posters,
about
but
it. There would be nothing there. There would be some houses, potentially, and maybe a banquet facility, but it's not like down in the flats where you have sidewalks and you have restaurants and gas stations and things like that. There's nothing there for people. They can't walk in. At least we're working on getting the people in the assisted living facilities to walk around a little bit. But there's nothing up there for anybody to do. So it just seems like they put it in the middle of a desert. I'm just amazed.
Yeah, I think when you start, and that was my comments when I was on TAG. It's like you want to think of development in terms of building a neighborhood. Where people
Absolutely.
are going to be living together and having amenities where it's going to be a nice place to live. To just kind of stick a development in, in isolation of everything else, it just doesn't work. It
doesn't really
doesn't
make
make
sense.
for, it's not good for the residents, and it's not good for the town. So, okay, I will,
Kathy, I don't want to belabor the last thing I'll say about it, but, you can't square this with this draft, plan of conservation and development. I mean, they don't,
No, they're not
They
they're
consistent.
not
don't match.
compatible.
They're
Yeah.
not consistent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And you're supposed to, like, when you do, and, you know, it's interesting, because when you do any type of planning, especially if you are going for, like, funding, they want your plans to be consistent with your plan of conservation and development. And that's another thing, by not having any affordable housing, because there's like, you need some major investment to clean up the brownfields. And this is a brownfields planning grant that was supposed to position the town to get the remediation funding, of which, you know, when you get a couple million, whatever the amount was, I don't know, it was 1.5, 2, whatever, it's a big number. And if you're gonna say, well, you know, even though we really need affordable housing, and we mention that in our planning grant, we're not gonna do affordable housing, but we want the remediation to clean it up for a boutique hotel, I don't think they're gonna be inclined to give us the remediation funding. So I think that's another reason we need the public subsidies to be able to do the work that's necessary to clean this site up. And we have to position ourselves to be competitive, and we're not gonna be competitive if we are doing restricted housing. Because they don't look fondly on that. And I don't know, are we trying to be, is that our new mojo, to be the assisted living center of Connecticut? You know, it doesn't feel like a vibrant community if that's what you're trying to attract.
So they won't be adding to the school population.
They will not be adding to the
I
school
said that
population.
tongue in cheek, though.
Yeah.
You're right, they
well,
will not be adding to the
yeah,
school
well,
population,
let's-
which is true.
But I,
Just seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah, I
Very,
agree with
very
you.
surprising, really.
Yeah.
yeah, so,
You gotta put
okay.
all that
Okay.
together.
All right. Next, and this is probably, I'm going to say the most important item, but we did work on this for a long time. I did combine everything into a packet, and we did the table of contents and took out the, you know, the demographics and the conditions, and referred it back to the POCD. Took out the surveys.
You have in here a reference to, I think the POCD, which I think you want to pop a link in there at some point.
Yes.
But it's not in there yet.
It's
But
not in
I get
there
it, because
yet.
the POCD is not done.
Correct.
So that's just a placeholder until
Right.
the POCD is done.
Mm-hmm.
You want to, I'll make a motion to it.
I did have
Accept
one,
this.
there's one other I was thinking about this morning. Another placeholder, because we talked about like the state requirements, and, you know, the House bill, you know, which will be a public act at some point. Probably, you know, once that's passed, that should also be incorporated, because that would set the number of units that the town would need to do over 10 years. If in fact that makes
If
it in
it's
there.
included, yeah.
It may, you know, may not be in there, but if it does, in the event it does make it in there, that's an important element to put in the plan. So I was going to also put a placeholder in the event that number gets passed. So, because that would frame the affordable housing plan in terms of what we have to do. So that's the only change I'd want to make. So with that one little change, you're going to make a motion?
I made a motion to accept
Okay.
it with those two placeholders.
I'll
Second.
second.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any more discussion? Oh. Hey, that was,
So that's,
That was
you are
easy.
flying today.
that's good. All right, I'm so happy I could submit that to them. All right, so we're gonna get you out even before 8:30.
I'm going to ask that the next item is the event from last week, right?
Yes,
Can we hold off on that? Because I want to watch the video. There's a couple things, I mean,
We don't have a video.
there's not going to be a video? I thought they videoed it.
Oh,
Of last
You mean
Wednesday
from the
night.
CC, from the organization
Yes.
itself? Okay.
Yeah. Because
okay.
it was not on, I mean, it was not on our website yesterday. So I would like to watch it if we can put that off to the next meeting. Is
Well,
that
we didn't,
possible?
we didn't tape the event, or, I mean, they did not tape the event because the
Oh.
event was being,
Do we have a link to it?
it was being recorded.
Okay,
But the question and answer part wasn't recorded, but the,
the presentation part of it was
was
recorded.
recorded.
Can we get that recorded?
I've been asking for it. I've been
Okay.
asking for the PowerPoint, because I know the person that facilitated it wanted that as well, the PowerPoint slides, which was, interesting.
Can we get that and then discuss it after we get that?
So you want to table this until?
I would like to, if you don't mind.
That's fine,
That's fine with
But
me.
just to be clear on what was taped, just the presentations were
Yes.
taped, not the question and answer, and then our discussion afterwards. Correct?
Right. Okay, and I do have I have 3 extra copies of that. Did you print that out? The, that is what was discussed.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of this.
Okay.
If you have an extra one, I appreciate it.
No,
Do
you can have
want
that.
No, no, yeah.
Do you want that? I have 2 more.
I just want to look at it now and get back.
Tell me, okay.
Yeah, I'll take it also. Thank you.
I
Okay.
promise to look at it back.
You have it? Yeah.
Those are just the slides, what we saw in person, right?
Those aren't the slides. That was the report, and the discussion was around
Oh.
that report.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I'll look at it later when Jim's.
Yeah. The only thing, if I could just have a little bit discussion, because we're going to be meeting with conservation. So we won't have our conversation, if we meet with them, like, in the beginning of the meeting, we won't be able to discuss what we're gonna be talking to them about. So I guess, my gist of, what we, I think we should try to get across to conservation is just, the need for just simple, and I think that's what I talked about pathways, just to get them to understand the need for housing.
I
And-
don't think there's anybody on conservation or on the land trust or the park association that doesn't understand that need. I think they understand the need. I think that their focus is to protect as much open space as possible and find other ways and other places to build affordable housing. I think that's their thought, okay? My concern with the discussion, and if you want to have it, we'll have it, was that I wanted to rehear when he talked about 14% of land trusts support affordable housing. You wrote something different in this, and that's not what I heard.
I didn't, right, that was the
The
facilitator.
facilitator wrote
Yeah.
that 14% of Connecticut land trusts are already active in this space. That's different than what I remember hearing, which is why I wanted to go back and watch it again, okay? Because people were upset when they heard that 14% of land trusts in Connecticut support affordable housing. Way more than 14% of land trusts in Connecticut support affordable housing.
would think so.
It's not, of course, that's implying that 86% don't. And that is definitely a mischaracterization of land trusts. So that's why I wanted to go back and watch it. Maybe I misheard it.
It's actually in the report.
No,
So-
he was speaking to the audience. He was speaking to people in Woodbridge who are on the Park Association and the Land Trust. So I want to listen to what he said to the people. And if he said something that I misheard, fine. But if he said something that offended people, we should have a conversation about it.
Yeah, no,
Because
I
that
don't-
needs to be made very clear.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
he made it sound like it was 14% that were involved some.
That's why I want to watch it.
Yeah,
Because
so-
I don't want to guess. I want to watch it and know, and then we can have a
Yeah,
discussion.
no,
from
it
there.
wasn't that 14% were supportive and 86% were not
No,
supportive.
there was no
Yeah.
86%,
Yeah.
but that's, if you say 14% of people support something, it implies that 86% of the people maybe don't. So,
Are
we
you-
should,
Chris, are you referring to the thing that's on?
no, I'm not referring to the video.
Okay, yeah, but in
Yeah.
juxtaposition to this thing that talks about on page 3 that says the findings of research reveal that 14% of land trusts in Connecticut are already engaging in ways
I
to
see
support.
that. I didn't see that until you just pointed it
Oh.
out.
Yeah,
But I'm saying the people sitting in the room heard one thing.
Okay,
We need to make sure that the message is consistent.
okay, that's fair.
And how do you know, did they talk to you about
Yes,
this?
people were upset. I had 3 different people come up and talk to me since last week. Okay. So I said, I'll find out.
Yeah, I
So
did
I'm
not
gonna
get,
find out.
I listened to him, and that is not what was represented, so, I think you're right.
I'm
You
gonna,
need to-
I'm gonna watch
you
it
need
and
to hear
we'll have a
for yourself.
conversation.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
But that,
but we gotta get it. We gotta figure out where it is.
I've been emailing them
Okay.
to get the recording, so I could send it out. But again,
Okay.
I think in terms of,
Figure it out.
we're gonna have a meeting with conservation, and I think we just need to be, prepared, because they're coming in from a different lens. I know their stance is they don't wanna, they only wanna develop in, on land that's already been developed. They don't wanna develop on undeveloped land. I think but I do think there's ways of even, maybe compromising or working together on I could see if there's like a piece of land that's available and, it could like have affordable housing and also a gateway or connectivity to the greenway, you could actually do something together. And I think it would be advantageous for somebody in affordable housing to have access to a trail. I mean, I think that's important too, that everybody has access to that type of amenity. The idea that they only want to do housing only in a business district, I don't think, we talked about that. I don't think that all affordable housing should be segregated in one particular area.
There's not enough road infrastructure to support all of our affordable housing in the business
No,
district.
right,
We
that's,
can't do that.
I know,
Okay, so, and I think, everybody, if you don't know it, we can't do it in Woodbridge. We can't put all of our affordable housing in the flats, in the business district, because there's not enough road infrastructure there for it. So I think people recognize that.
And it also leads
I
us
don't
open
know.
to attack of segregating. And,
Yeah,
I mean, there's
yeah.
a lot of reasons why we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where people complain about traffic, but in that area, it's
They're legitimate
Legitimate.
complaints
it's
about
legitimate.
traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is truly gonna be a joint meeting, or will be relegated to the children's section, like planning and zoning?
No, we actually have this room, and they have, I don't know, they have the back room.
So it'll be a joint meeting, we'll all be around this
I-
issue too.
Yeah, I think that was Lou's question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have,
Do you have to, even if you have this room, do you have to sit in the back?
no, this will be, we are, this,
How
Not that
many
offensive.
people, how many people on the Conservation Commission? I don't know off the top of my head, but we just gotta make sure we have enough chairs.
yeah.
True.
Yeah, but they start first, so I don't know, they're gonna like take our room first. But I have to like figure out what the timing of it.
Okay.
They haven't gotten back to me on that yet.
Who's the chairperson of conservation?
They have a co-chair. It's Diane Bacquari and Sharon DeCamp. So, and Sharon was at the event. So I think, again, it's just talking and just kind of keep on talking and educating, and I do think you do start moving the needle a little bit, and I thought it was a great turnout for the event. I was happy to see the land trust folks there, and because you had Kathy Wick and you had Brian Pine. I think it was good that they were there and they listened and they asked questions, but everything was good. And we got to, I got to talk to Brian Pine a little bit afterwards, and I think it was just good to be able to.
Well, like
talk.
you said, with a smile on your face, at least we're all in the same room and it's a start. And
Yeah.
that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
That was the best thing about the evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think everybody was, it seemed, right, Chris? I mean,
What's that?
coming from a land trust perspective, it seemed like it was cordial and people
I
listened.
felt like it was. But, again, talking to people afterwards, it was days after. There was a couple, they were upset about that one comment, which is why I want to clarify.
Yeah, clarified, and then
Okay.
maybe you can
Then we
get
can
back to
figure
them,
it
that
out,
would be
because if
great.
that was mischaracterized, then we'll say it was mischaracterized, and that's that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Community conversations, Elaine, Lou, how's
Oh
it
gosh,
going?
what are we up to? All in? Tomorrow night we
We have a
have.
meeting tomorrow night, yes.
Yeah, it's starting to roll along, I would say. People are putting some action pieces into place. Oh, I'm on a subcommittee that's going to be dealing with volunteer opportunities in Woodbridge and the surrounding towns, and, compiling a good list and explanation of them, and having that all in one place. Who was it? Jean suggested, if we ever have a budget, getting it into a little booklet, which would be great, and then letting people know that it's coming from this all-in organization, and just another way of connecting people in town. And so I think every little subcommittee met this week, and we'll discuss it tomorrow night. But I feel like, would you agree? Are we sort of
Yeah.
moving
Yeah,
along?
we're moving along, actually.
Would
And
you
my
say?
wife, who tends to be impatient at things, said we're actually going someplace now. The first project is going to be the, what used to be the old firehouse, whatever we call
A
it
community
now.
conversation
Yeah.
at the old firehouse.
About what people want and what they expect. Jean, by the way, has left the committee because she's spending more time in New York
Yeah.
and she doesn't have the time. But that
So-
will be our first discussion on that,
So you're gonna plan a community meeting at the old firehouse?
about the old firehouse.
About-
how people,
Yes.
what people would want it to
Okay.
do. We're trying to keep it,
About,
yeah, starting with things that people can talk about and getting people used to talking about things. I'm on the communications committee, and we meet every week now, which has got to be a problem, but I think we're gonna switch to later in the day because we were meeting every day about, 1 o'clock.
1
And
o'clock.
that was a tough time for me in particular, but we're gonna switch it to 4 o'clock online, and then once a month, we'll have our in-person meeting, which is tomorrow. But yes, there is activity going on.
Good, good. Okay. I have other community conversation. I don't know why I put that down.
so
Yeah.
we're gonna do that at the next meeting with the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
So there you
good.
go.
There you go. Yeah, I guess it's probably, maybe 10 and 11 are kind of the same. It is really just planning for our next informational session. I know we talked about to have an informational session on House Bill 5002, but I don't know. I think once that is passed, probably need somebody to come in to talk people through that. We had talked about having developers come in to talk about how, housing development could happen, affordable housing. Because I think there's just some confusion as to how development happens. Whether or not it has to all be in market rate developments. No, you could have an affordable housing development where you could have a higher concentration of affordable housing in order to get to your number a lot quicker, but it just, it takes a lot of putting together of financing to do that, and it just takes, a lot of layering of public subsidies, and, it's not easy feat, but there's people that do that. There's nonprofit developers that could do that. There's, we are working with LISC to look at some potential projects, and that could bring in some, affordable housing projects that have, a mix of affordability, including, market rate mixed in with affordable housing units, much more than the 15%, in order for us to get to our number quicker. Because I do think that we we should plan to get a moratorium, because I think the moratorium is really important I think it would make people, I think, feel more comfortable. If we get a moratorium, then we have 4 years to really plan for the next
The next one.
moratorium. And so it's a way of just kind of like, engaging in thoughtful planning. But we have to get that first development.
I also would like to continue having more robust discussions about accessory dwelling units, because I think that would also assist in helping us get to that moratorium. They're much less complicated than a housing development. They're individual. I feel like more people would be supportive of that because they're less environmentally impactful. And individual people can choose to do it.
And we did finally ascertain that it does count towards affordable housing.
It does
right?
count
I mean,
towards affordable housing.
For
It's
a
a
while, we
10-year
thought
deed
it didn't,
restriction.
but I think you researched that, right, Chris?
That's what Justin LaFountain told me.
Yeah.
And and they don't count towards our total number of houses. So for 3,400 houses and we add 100 accessory dwelling units, our denominator is still 3,400.
Stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
And if we add 100 accessory dwelling units that are deed restricted, then we're really doing very well. But this plan for the Country Club of Woodbridge, it hurts us in terms of, that plan hurts us, our attempt at getting to a
Right.
moratorium.
That's true.
Dramatically hurts us.
I mean, it increases
So-
the denominator and
Yeah,
doesn't do anything
it's
about the
denominator. It
numerator.
doesn't help,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't help at
Yeah.
all.
That's
Right.
right.
So
Right.
they need to go back to the drawing board on that.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, do we know if how many ADUs have been built in recent times? And what I was really getting at, do we know if any of the developers, because that's the kind of thing that when, you can, you get people interested if they're developers and they see something that's nice and they say, oh, I'd like to do that or something like that.
yeah.
I don't know, we asked Chris last year.
No, I actually got a number
you
because
did?
I did a tour for Wallingford.
Mm-hmm.
We drove around ADUs, and there's 7
Oh, okay.
ADUs.
Do we know
But-
who did the building? Construction?
It was just, really, I'm not sure who
Okay.
did the construction, but it was mainly for, moving the parents in, moving the caretaker in. I think the idea of providing an incentive for someone to build an ADU to get some kind of tax break in order to put a deed restriction on there to make it affordable. I personally don't think that's going to result in any affordable housing units, because I'm not sure how many people would take an incentive to build an ADU to rent to somebody they don't know on their property. I don't know, but again,
Yeah, if you look at California, which I spent a little time with
I know, but
California.
California's a little
Yeah,
different. No, I know.
that's what they
Looks-
have to do in California because
Yeah.
people
Right.
can't afford to live there.
Right.
So there's a roadmap on how to do accessory dwelling units from California.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it would work. You don't think it would work. I think we should still explore it.
I think we should
Okay.
explore it, but again, California is very much an outliner in national
They're
statistics.
very much like Connecticut. Housing prices are through the roof, just like Connecticut. They're not an outlier. We're like kindred spirits, us in California, in terms of housing.
I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, if housing's tight and it's expensive, that's a way to deal with it. And we're in that, whether we weren't California 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we may be approaching it now, if not there. So it's worth exploring.
Yeah.
And they've done something like that in Rhode Island, and I'll check into that because it sounded very interesting.
Doing like a incentive to build ADUs for
Yeah,
for
yes.
low income.
Yes.
I would agree it's something worth exploring, but I would also like to go back to something Chris said a couple of minutes ago, which I think is very important, referring to the fact that if they do this plan on the country club, not only does it not make the situation better, it makes it worse. And I think that should be stressed. I think he's right. We have to stress that to the selectmen. They have to be aware of the fact that 1.25 or whatever it is right now will even go down if they do this. It's certainly
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
don't
help
think
us.
the
It's gonna
assisted
hurt us
living-
getting a
yeah.
moratorium.
I don't think we count the assisted living units.
No, but it's the market rate
Yeah,
housing
yeah.
and the senior housing that's there. It just, I'm amazed that came out like that.
Yeah. But in terms of, now, do you know in California what type of incentives they used for people to build?
Not off the top of my head, but I will. I'll send some California ADU info. So, I'm thinking of Woodbridge. If we offered a tax incentive, you build an accessory dwelling unit and you deed restrict it for 10 years, so it's affordable. You don't pay any property tax on that while it's deed restricted. So whatever money you make, you make. You don't have to pay more taxes on it. It doesn't cost the town any money because we're not taking money from the town. We're just not collecting more tax revenue. And I mean, that might be an incentive. It's not. There's lots of things that we could do with, I think, accessory dwelling units to attract people to do this. If someone had a house and it had an accessory dwelling unit, they can't afford to buy the house because their income level is too low.
Mhm.
But they have income from an accessory dwelling unit, well, that may help them buy the house.
Yeah.
So there's ways that this can work.
Yeah,
But I'll
actually,
send you
I did,
information.
I did talk to some of the, real estate folks, like Buddy DeGennaro. I talked to
Mhm.
somebody else, and I said, we're trying to push ADUs. And I said, do you use that when you talk to people and you're trying to sell a house, if they can't afford it, say, hey, you could build an ADU now, and you could rent out the ADU, and that could cost, so it could be used as a, and maybe we just need to push that a little bit more with the realtor groups to say, use this as an incentive because of Woodbridge's, very, because of our ADU regulations, where we did in fact align our regulations with the state, which really gives them flexibilities to do this. So that might be another way. I mean, I did put it out there to realtors, but maybe we could try to do that
Yeah.
again. Does Woodbridge have like a realtor?
I can tell you, since my father passed away years ago, he built many ADUs in this town when they were not legal, because he was a builder, and he built them. And they're out there. And if we can make them legal and deed restricted, that would help as well. Okay, I mean, there's ways to do this. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be it could be a family member that can't afford to live in a house. I've got a cousin who can't afford to live in a house, can barely afford his apartment. He would love to live in a deed restricted ADU somewhere. So there's people out there that would definitely benefit from this. And there's homeowners that would benefit. If my mother were 10 years younger, she would probably build an accessory dwelling unit because she could use that extra income for herself. But she's not going to do it. She's at this point in her life. But if we're 10 years ago and this was passed, and my father were still alive, he would have built it.
Yeah.
He just would have done it. So I think there's opportunities. But I think that's really important that we really get that out there.
Kathy,
Maybe-
how did you know where the 7 ADUs were?
Well, Chris had to.
Chris Sullivan?
Chris
Oh,
Sullivan
yeah.
had to.
'Cause I don't-
I have it.
I don't know where they are.
Oh, I have the
Different Chris.
addresses.
Different Chris.
I could share the addresses. So because we went around and we saw most of them. One we couldn't find, and because could have been behind the house, but they had like this big sign, like you're being like, we have a surveillance
like
camera.
no
do not-
trespassing kind of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, you shouldn't go on
So
other people's property.
I didn't want to like
Of
check out
course.
their ADU. I mean, Chris, if you want to, take this on as
I'm gonna
a
work on
project.
it. I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah, maybe that you could take that as a project because, I'd love to be.
I've been working on it. I mean, I look at how difficult it is to accomplish this, okay? I feel like there's people in this town that care enough about affordable housing that they'll step up and do it, okay? I feel like there's people that will do that. And I think that they have no idea how to do it. California, like I said, offers a roadmap. It literally all we would have to do is take their sheet and change the names of the people you need to contact. You contact this person for this person for this is who you contact for engine. Everything is laid out. But nobody knows that in Connecticut. We don't really talk about this. But if we took the California model and brought it here, I think we could be very successful with that.
But the other, not that it's an issue, but you do have to, the town needs to verify every year that in fact they are still eligible to stay in that unit. So there is, you know, an administrative burden to make sure that people are in fact, you know, eligible.
And
But,
sticking to the deed restriction.
Yes.
also,
right,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. But, you know, I mean, if you have your, you know, your elderly father that's on Social Security and, you know, then the person would be eligible.
Or-
Or if you have your, you know, kid just out of college and hasn't started their job, you know, so there's, or you have your caretaker, you know, who's taking care of your, you know, in-law, they're
Yeah.
low income.
When I built my house 23 years ago, I built a cape with a garage and an apartment over the garage because I wanted that extra income, and it's as affordable as can be. It's probably the cheapest rent in Woodbridge. It's been that way for 22 years. And I did that because I wanted to build a house for me, and I wanted to have income and have a place for somebody else. And it's worked out very well. I've had several different tenants, most of them people that I know, but some people that I didn't know. So, and it's worked out fine. So.
Great.
Okay. Any other thoughts on other informational sessions we could have,
Oh, community conversations.
community conversations?
I think the one, you know, when this House bill becomes law, I think that would be a really important one.
Yeah. I mean, we did 3 of them. I mean, you know, we did April, June, and July. So we did, I think we did pretty well in packing in some community conversations.
I agree.
So I would like to try to at least schedule something every other month, so maybe something in October or something.
Okay.
And maybe, you know, that might be good timing, because if they have a special session in September, then we'll be able to maybe have an information session on HB 5002, and then people will understand if in fact the 332 number, you know, does get passed, then people at least understand that,
Where
you know,
that's coming from, yeah.
this is where it's coming from, this is how it was determined, and you know.
What it means.
Right,
What's the responsibility? What is the incentive? That's,
Right.
there's a lot to that.
yeah. Because there are a lot of incentives in that bill to do that, so. Okay, well, anything else?
Luke? I want a motion to adjourn? You got a 4-year-old waiting at home.
I will move to adjourn.
I did, you got that 4-year-old waiting.
Okay,
Second.
all right.
This was very, my compliment.